Do you have a mom? If so, you should probably call her because, you're spending time watching a really dumb YouTube video instead of wishing her a great Mother's Day. Unless you have a bad mom, in which case, don't call her. She doesn't deserve you. Regardless, I'm happy to say that I do have a pretty awesome, amazing, wonderful, beautiful, intelligent, whimsical, supportive mother. And today, when I went to her and I said, "Mother, what do you want? What do you want to do today?" She said to me, she looked me in the eyes and she said, "I need you to make a YouTube video about 13 moms that aren't real." And I said, "Yes, that's perfect." It was great. I'm just kidding. I made her a painting. It's okay. 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 In honor of Mother's Day, I will be ranking a bunch of random moms. Okay? Okay. Now, last time I ranked things, I had a tier list. This time, I do not have a tier list because I'm too lazy to make a tier list. So instead, we're gonna try a new system. Okay? Okay. I made a wheel of names on wheels, a wheelofnames.com. Fitting title. And whatever mom I land on, I'll talk about for a bit, and then as I go on, I will show you how I rank them in comparison to each other. You'll kind of get into the groove once you see me do it. Okay, yeah. Let's start. Ursa, that's an interesting one. Oh boy, starting off a little in a gray area. Some of you might be thinking that saying gray area is incorrect. I mean, she was a good mom. My issue with saying that is considering how Azula turned out. Now, I'm not saying that it is their mom's fault for how Azula turned out, but like, it's got to be like part of the problem. See, we don't have a documentary, or at least not one that I've seen, of how Zuko and Azula were raised. So I don't actually know how much influence she had on her children. I mean, I know she influenced Zuko to be at least a little bit nicer, so he could later not be a horrible person. But considering how bad Azula turned out, it really makes me wonder why she didn't try to do the same thing for her. I mean, you might be thinking, well, it's because she was tainted by her father's evilness, but it's like, if there's any show that believes in redemption and, I don't know, deeper conflict and, I don't know, nothing is as it seems, it's Avatar: The Last Airbender. She says that her own mother thought she was a monster, which isn't incorrect, but to be fair, I don't know how much I trust Azula's perspective. Something tells me it might be a little skewed. Going off what we know, she is good enough to raise Zuko to be a nicer person and have more of a heart, but not good enough to somehow make her daughter less psychopathic. But the way that they present it makes it seem like she's always been a psychopath, which doesn't sound like the kind of show that this is, which makes me assume that that's not true. She's not bad, but she's not amazing. So my guess is she'll end up in the middle of the list. Okay, now this is a major upgrade. I know that she doesn't have biological children, but she basically counts. She's honorary for the purposes of this video. Ida has all of the aspects of a good mother, despite not actually being the biological mother of her many children. Okay, to be fair, her two main little children that she's raising from the ground, like saplings, is King and Luce. Um, so unless you count some of these other characters, I'm gonna really focus on how she treats Luce and King. The show itself already seems to agree with me on this because when Rain finds out, she says, Ida, do you have kids? And I think that in general, this found family system that is being presented to us is meant to be taken that way. So for all, I don't care what anyone says. Ida counts, and I love her. Ida is a wine mom. No, that's a horrible way of putting it. Um, so at first, Ida isn't really the best mom or mentor to Luce, but over time, it becomes clear that she's actually got some nice wisdom and care to share with Luce. She's actually quick to tell Luce something that I think really changes the course of this show, which is that nobody is the chosen one because you have to choose yourself. Ida is doing something here that is going to influence her for the rest of her life. And I know you might be thinking that that's a big shot, especially since she only said this in the second episode. But let me make this clear. I think that this really changes Luce from just any other protagonist of a show to a protagonist that is willing to be proactive. I'm not saying this is all because of Ida, because she was already planning on going on whimsical adventures when she got there. But I think that this makes Luce realize that Ida has confidence in her. And when Ida trusts her, she's able to trust herself. Let me put it like this: Ida is pushing Luce to be the best version of herself. And in my opinion, as someone with no children, parents should always be trying to have their kids be the best version of themselves. So Ida really does everything that a mom should be doing. On top of that, Ida actually goes out of her way to make Luce happy. The general care that she doesn't have to give to Luce, she gives anyway. She makes her a cape or robe or whatever with magic spaghetti. She gets wood for Luce so she can sculpt her own palisman. The fact that Ida so quickly becomes maternal towards Luce is kind of beautiful, and I think that it shows that Ida has a big heart that is worthy of an awesome mother. And that's not even mentioning all the things that she does for Luce that are life risking and truly harrowing just to save this small little child, gremlin, teenager. Why am I calling Luce a small child, gremlin, teenager? Just forget that. Okay, straight to the point. Ida is an amazing mom. So she's definitely going above Ursa, and I wouldn't be surprised if she ended up like close to the first place on this list. Now, who do we have next? Oh boy, time to go back to mediocrity. Maddie Fenton is like not a great parent. I mean, I'd argue that both of Danny Phantom's parents aren't great. I talked about it on my Danny Phantom video. The only reason I'm bringing it up again is because I don't want to downplay just how neglectful these parents are. Like, I know it's not important, and it's usually written off as comedy when they're oblivious to everything. But it's really pissing me off. Okay, you can't do this to him. Okay, you just can't. Okay, definitely. I gotta calm down. The point is, Maddie is just not good at raising children, and that's very evident from the way their children turned out. The thing is that they do love their children, but just because you love your kids doesn't mean you're good parents. Okay? Both parents really prioritize ghost hunting over family bonding or anything else, actually. Also, what kind of house has a bunch of dangerous They literally get their son killed indirectly with all their dangerous equipment just in the house. You can't just have a goddamn bomb in your house. A house with children in it. And I might be being harsh on them, but it's not like they work at a government facility. It literally is in their house, in their basement, and they just let them walk around the house into the basement with all the dangerous equipment that's poorly constructed. I mean, on top of that, it's not like they're telling them to stay out of the basement. They're just like letting them go in. In fact, Danny's dad tells him to like clean out part of the freaking, I don't know, what was it, the machine thing? For the ghost portal? I forget. But the fact that they're making him do chores in the dangerous basement is a bad sign. Don't make your child do dangerous chores in your ghost basement. Oh, no. I suppose Maddie is a bit better than Jack, but honestly, when you're in a situation like this, it doesn't really matter how much better one parent is than the other, because, like, it's such a minute difference. The difference is that Maddie's just a bit less childish and immature. But I feel like that's more of a trope than anything else. I mean, childish dads and mothers who take the responsibility is something that goes back years and years as a trope in TV and sitcoms and movies. So I don't really know if it counts even to say that she's better than Jack just because Jack acts like a stereotypical dad in media. But she definitely doesn't do all that she can for her kids, and she's a big part of the problem that I discussed in my video about how no one seems to really recognize all the signs of unraveling in Danny other than his sister. It's just concerning. It's concerning, okay? So I think for now she's going on the bottom of the list. Oh, Catherine. Yeah, she's not great. I mean, I don't want to be mean. It's not like she's horrible, but not great. And I already feel like some people are going to be like, she's doing her best. She's a single mother, and she has to be in this haunted hotel and raise her children on her own. I just want to let you know that raising the children on her own, while difficult, is not impossible, and if anything, that is the thing that she's doing okay with. I think that honestly, raising kids on her own, she's doing pretty good. However, the haunted hotel part is really her fault. She does not need to raise her kids in a haunted hotel. That is a choice that she is making. She doesn't have to do that. And I know what you're all about to say, but her brother's there. He's stuck to the hotel. He can't leave the hotel. She wants to see her brother. Well, she didn't know that at first. She didn't know he was freaking haunting the hotel. She didn't realize that until she found him at the hotel. Before that, she just went to the hotel, I'm assuming, and decided to settle in. Why would you do that? Because once you find out that the hotel is haunted, you don't want to be there anymore. Right? And maybe you're saying, oh, well, maybe they didn't have anywhere else to go, anywhere else to live. And just to let you know, I think that that's BS, because you could also just, I don't know, sell the hotel. I mean, maybe no one would buy a haunted hotel, but are you telling me she was living on the streets before Nathan died? I'm pretty sure that she was living somewhere. It just doesn't feel like that any of this was a good idea. And even if she cared that much about staying close to her dead brother, she could just buy a house in the neighborhood, I'm sure, or at least one city over, so she could visit often or something. And then she wouldn't have to force her children to live in a haunted hotel.
if this was just her and she as a grown adult woman was making the decision to live in a haunted hotel with murderers, well, dead murderers, with scary, spooky ghosts that are always getting up to chicanery, then fine, I'd be like, whatever, she's making that decision. But you can't just drag your kids into this. It's not very nice. It's a not nice thing to do. Anyway, but other than that, I guess she's kind of okay. I think that it's very well exemplified, though, that she does not really seem to care about her children's, like, safety. Like, I get that it's a comedy and it's a joke, but also, like, realistically, this is very strange. Like, your daughter says that she was out all night in a swamp and found this ancient relic, and you make one small objection saying, I'm not okay with that, but you don't do anything to enforce that. Like, if Esther was my child, you better believe that I would be like, okay, we need some rules, some curfew, or, I don't know, reasons, and I know she can handle herself, okay? I just think that she might get herself killed. Like, I'm just saying, as a mother, you really should be looking out a little bit more. Honestly, as any parent, you should be looking out for your children. And you probably shouldn't just be, I don't know, letting them roam free on the haunted property that you own. And no matter how capable you believe her children are, it doesn't change how dangerous the environment is. In this series, I'm pretty sure they've almost died multiple times, and also, I don't think that it's convenient to live in a haunted place. You could also say that maybe she doesn't really know how much mischief Esther's getting up to, because in one episode, she believes that Esther is sleeping, but she's pretending not to, and was just lying to her mom. But in the last episode of the show so far, she was all like, oh, I was out in the swamp all night, you know? And so now she knows. And there's also another episode where Esther is like, I know how to get you down from atop the roof. Just jump into this painting and go through to the other side. And somehow she knows that going through it twice will kill you? How does she know that? If I was the mom, I'd ask how she knows that. It's like, why are you not telling me anything? Maybe it's just hard to get her daughter to trust her or something. I don't know, but I don't trust all this judgment that she's bestowing. You can give her a bunch of reasons and excuses for not thinking that Esther needs supervision, but you could just as much think of thousands of excuses for why they don't need to live in a haunted hotel. And I know it's a show and it's just for fun. All I'm saying is that you can't say that she's a great mother if she's forcing her children to live in a haunted hotel. My God. I mean, I guess you could say, too, that the haunted hotel is better than any other kind of house that they could own because it's really big. But, like, they don't need all this space. They're a family of 3. What are they going to do with, like, 17 bedrooms? Yeah, I'm going to run a hotel. Dude, running this hotel has been way more trouble than it needs to be. You can literally just get another job and, like, renovate the hotel into something else, right? Like, it doesn't need to be a hotel. Does she want it to be a hotel? Is it because Nathan wanted it to be a hotel? I guess you don't want to have a normal-ass house with ghosts in it, but I don't think anyone wants a hotel with ghosts in it either. It's a lose-lose. Oh, my God. I don't know why I'm getting so upset about this. I just feel like that everyone keeps talking about in the fandom. I feel like I remember everyone being like, oh, she's so hot and nice. And it's like, guys, I don't think she's doing a great job keeping her children safe. So, I want to be honest here. The only thing that I can think of that also makes her a bad mom, other than that, would probably be, like, oh my God, that's stupid. And lastly, I don't know how much I trust Catherine, considering that the demon in one of the episodes that possessed Esther said that apparently she is unsure about a female president. I don't know what implications come with that. That is, it's one of the funniest jokes in the show for me, because it's the implication that she's just, like, kind of conservative. I mean, the aunt seemed very conservative. I think her name was Aunt Rose. Aunt Rose does sound like a MAGA Republican, but what do I know? Oh my god, we gotta move on. I'm putting Catherine, well, you know what? I'm gonna put Catherine above Maddie because honestly, like, I am going to put Catherine above Maddie because I think that she does care a bit more about her kids because, you know, Maddie is just kind of stupid and doesn't even notice the danger that she's putting her kids in. Catherine at least has enough, like, logical sense to try and actually save her kids, you know? But that might be a bit generous. The reason I'm putting her higher up is because she's more present in their lives. Maddie is barely a footnote in Danny Phantom, so clearly one of them is at least more involved. I don't know, man. We're moving on. In my Lion Guard video I'll hopefully be releasing this summer, I'll be going more in depth about how I feel about Simba and Nala as parents. But for now, I'll just give you a general rundown about how I feel about Nala. I think Nala is actually a great mother, okay? She is, first of all, I think that Nala is already kind of overlooked in the Lion King fandom. Like, no, I'm not saying people don't love Nala or anything, but when you hear people talking about the Lion King, I feel like they mostly talk about Simba, Kiara, Kovu, and then Kion, if they care about the Lion Guard. And in my ultimate Lion King retrospective that I will be conducting, I can tell you that throughout all of it, Nala has definitely been very consistently awesome, okay? Because, first of all, let's just go through both of her kids and how I feel like she does a great job for both of them. Okay, Kiara, she's extremely fair to her. I think that because of her, I'll just go over how Nala is a good parent to each one of her kids. Kiara, she's actually very good at being fair to her. Despite being raised under Scar's totalitarian regime, she actually is very good at giving her children freedom, and she seems to care very much about fostering some independence in Kiara while Simba is reluctant to. She trusts enough in Kiara and Kiara's judgment because she cares how her kid thinks. She cares how her kid feels. I think her empathy is perfect for this scenario because even when Simba is being unreasonable about something, she's not afraid to push back for the well-being of everyone, including her children. Like, when she stands up for Kovu, kind of just being like, "He saved our daughter's life, Simba." Why am I talking like that? She doesn't sound like that. Okay. Anyway, so Nala just has a great responsible aura to her, I suppose you could say. The issue is that in the Lion King movies and Lion Guard series, there isn't really any incentive given by the, there isn't really any incentive given by the medium. Oh my god, the shows and movie always emphasize the Simba part of the parentage as opposed to the Nala part. I think she's not given enough credit, to be honest. Especially for Kion. You see, I think that she treats Kion a lot, again, fair, when he makes a mistake. I think Simba in the Lion Guard gets too angry too quickly, and like I said, I will be expanding on that, but for now, let's just say that Nala usually reacts a lot calmer, and she always makes sure that Kion knows that he is loved regardless of the mistake that he makes. Like when he accidentally roars so powerfully that the freaking, I don't know, trees come out of the ground and stuff. She immediately tells him, like, it's okay, you know, you saved me, you tried, you know, it was just a mistake. So in comparison, especially, Nala is very good at keeping everything fair and honestly being that loving mother that both Kiara and Kion need. For that reason, she'll be in the second place spot below Ida, because Ida really is an amazing foster parent because Ida's much more, well, not only do we see more of Ida, like screen time wise, in like a general sense, like she's one of the main characters of her show, and Nala is like a side character in all her media. But Ida also has more examples of being a good parent, so. Next up, we have Debbie! Okay, I feel like I don't need to explain this. She's definitely, like, best mom in general. Like, you don't have someone like Debbie everywhere, okay? Because she is possibly one of the most well thought out and independent characters in the show, especially compared to the comics, from what I hear. Debbie is able to move on from what her husband did to her and still be an awesome parent all at once. She is possibly one of the only reasons Mark is good in his universe and not in any other universe, because she actually did have a big part in raising him, where she was sure to teach him right from wrong, and like I said earlier, make him the best version of himself. And then, when she finds out about Oliver, she takes him in. She doesn't need to do that. Cecil offers to take him in, but, she makes it clear that she feels that she needs to take care of this child purely because if it's Mark's family, it's her family. She has enough empathy to do that and look past all the rage and anger that she's been through. My God, I love you, Debbie. My God, I really hope she doesn't get back together with Nolan. Oh my God. I don't want to make this about him, though. Okay, this isn't about him. This is about her. Okay, this is her moment. She really puts in the effort to make sure that Mark knows that he's loved, even when he makes quote-unquote bad decisions. Oh my God. I feel like I shouldn't need to explain this too much, considering everything that has happened in the show. To me, it's abundantly clear that she just has her children's best interest in mind, and she is a very generous and caring mother who knows how to be there for her children. I'm gonna get this out of the way now. She will be going in first place because you can't tell me that she doesn't deserve it. She also is very good at giving her son space despite it being difficult. Like, let me put it like this. He has to go away for months in multiple times of the show into space while she is left behind on Earth. And she doesn't pull a freaking Simba and get all freaking upset about it and try to be too protective, because she knows that he's powerful and what he's capable of, and she steps in to help him emotionally when she can. I guess my one objection would be that she shouldn't be exposing Oliver to this much sexual activity going on in their house at such a young age. The fact that Oliver knows about both her and Mark's sexual life is really freaking me out. Okay, that's it. Next up, we have... yeah, it's Johanna. But underrated mother. So, Johanna is Hilda's mom from the series. Can you guess? Hilda! And I think that she's pretty overlooked within cartoon mothers. I mean, the whole show itself, in my opinion, is very underrated. But her ability to be responsible is pretty awesome. I feel like in most adventure shows like this, where kids go off on their own to discover magical things, parents seem at least a little neglectful or, too unaware. But here it feels like it's a great balance, I guess you could say. Because Joanna is a very realistically written mother character. I'm not saying Debbie wasn't realistically written, but you get what I'm saying. They're both realistically written. And Joanna has the human emotions that anyone would have. She's not just awesome mom, she's also someone who cracks under pressure and someone who is anxious when things go wrong or when her child goes missing. She cares very deeply about Hilda. So even if you don't think that she does nearly as impressive things as the others, I think that just her realism already makes her stand out a lot, because despite all her human struggles and any issues, similarly to Debbie, she is still there for Hilda. And it's not like Joanna is ever upset with Hilda because of who she is. She's upset with Hilda when she just lies to her, which is pretty reasonable. I would be upset too if my kid was lying all the time and just going off on dangerous adventures I don't know about. I would be worried. I would just want to know so I could be sure that my child was safe, or at least more safe. So every time she's ever been upset with Hilda, it's felt pretty reasonable. And Hilda herself has a positive opinion of her mother, and clearly believes that her mom is caring for her. So in this situation, both of them actually do have a deep love for each other, even if sometimes they have misunderstandings, which, like I said, just makes the show more realistic despite its whimsical nature. Joanna's desire for Hilda to have human friends is also interesting to me, because it really shows Joanna's desire for her daughter to have human friends just proves even further that she just wants her daughter to have the best life possible. Because if they're going to live in the city, she can't just have her daughter being friends with, elves and stuff. And I know that some people might disagree with that and just say, well, she should just let her daughter be friends with whoever she wants. But she wants to encourage Hilda to be less stuck in her own ways, I guess you could say. Because she wants Hilda to be a well-adjusted, say it with me now, best version of herself. So, she's definitely going in... Man, this is a tough one. I would put her in the same level as, Ida or something. I think I'm going to put her one below Ida, but that's nothing to scoff at. She really is a great mom. Ugh, this next one's a severe downgrade. We got freaking Betsy Wilkins. Screw her. Look, Adam Eve's dad, Adam, may be the more abusive one of the two, and definitely more cruel outwardly. But the fact that Betsy just lets it happen is a bad thing to do to your child, because it not only communicates that you are refuse to help your child, but it also communicates that you just don't care enough to help your child. I think that it does communicate in this show some kind of sexism that's kind of going on, where the wife is just going to follow the man. And I'm not saying that's bad, of course. This show is just representing something that happens in the real world, which is women letting themselves be shut down by cruel and sometimes abusive men. But I think that no matter how you split it or how you discuss how the sexism or power dynamic in Betsy and Adam's relationship is, she is still actively deciding not to defend her daughter, which makes her a bad mom. Good parents and mothers go out of their way to make their child's life better, or at least try their best to help their child when they can help their child. This is just something cruel that she's letting happen because it's just difficult and inconvenient for her to face her husband or for her to speak to Eve. And it shows that she's a coward, first off, and also someone who's just not motivated enough to help. No matter the social issue or circumstance, she doesn't even go out of her way to maybe talk to Eve one-on-one to make her really feel better. Every time she's ever gone to her, it has been very minimalist. I think there was one time she went to her on her own with a sandwich or something, and she said something and just gave her the sandwich. But the fact that I can't remember what that is just shows how much impact she left as a mother. So screw her, man. She's bad at her motherly duties. Just because she's not as bad as Eve's dad doesn't mean she can just get off the hook. Because of her blatant lack of care to go out of the way and help out her daughter and just letting her husband call her daughter weird, I think she deserves to be at the very end of this list. I find it funny that as of right now, both the top of this list and the bottom of this list have an invincible character. Oh, man. Anyway. Next, we have a refreshing change of pace from frickin' Betsy. Chili. I think that she's often overlooked because her husband, Bandit, is more involved with the kids and their playtime. But I think that she's still an amazing parent and actually demonstrates important virtues for her parentage journey. Why do I sound like a podcast? Oh my god. I'm never saying the word virtue again in a YouTube video. Anyway, so even if Chili's not really involved with the play, she still does her part for the home. And besides, I think that the fact that Bandit is making the time to play with his kids is actually a good break from the stereotype that dads don't need to be involved in their kids' lives. So yay! She actually is really good at having one-on-one talks with her kids and having emotionally intelligent conversations. One episode where Bluey's obsessed with the card for Bandit being perfect, she explains to Bluey that it doesn't need to be perfect because her dad loves her so much. And there's so many episodes where she goes out of her way to teach her kids these lessons about being the best versions of themselves and a version of themselves that they can actually, like. She's also really in tune with how both her children are feeling. I think since Bingo was super emotional, she especially is able to hone in on how Bingo's feeling and check in on her from time to time. She very often goes out of her way to make sure Bingo isn't upset or sad. Like in the Past the Parcel episode when she keeps on losing, she goes out of her way to ask her, are you doing okay? Or she looks at her to see how she's feeling. And that's how she learns that Bingo is becoming more adjusted to losing. And she even helps Bingo learn that just because you don't win all the time doesn't mean it's anything you should get upset over. It's more honorable and honestly more reasonable to just be happy for whoever wins and just keep on going with your life. You don't need to dwell on the fact that you didn't win a silly little game. And the fact that she takes the time to teach Bingo this lesson, despite this entire scenario seeming pointless to, older people, because, as more mature, older people know, it's already unreasonable to be this upset over something this juvenile and unimportant. But Shelley takes her children's emotions seriously despite the fact that they're children. This validates how they feel and makes her a better parent. So, in general, I would say that she is definitely an incredible parent and deserves to be, I guess, behind Joanna on the list. But again, nothing to scoff at, okay? Because I think even if she's behind Joanna, she could also be on the same level as Joanna. I feel like they both do a really good job at connecting to their children, even when it's difficult, or even when it seems difficult. Yeah, saying difficult twice in one sentence. I'm a wordsmith. Oh, let's move on. Angelica is a bit more of that gray area that we originally had at the beginning of this video. Of course, she is a good mother, and I think that she definitely means well. She even sacrifices herself for the good of the world, so yeah, Angelica from She-Ra is definitely a good, intending mother. My issue is that Angelica is a bit distant. She never really builds that trust with Glimmer. And even if Glimmer is the kind of person who just disobeys for no good reason, I feel like she still doesn't give her that safe space. I mean, there is a reason that Glimmer avoided telling her mom when she was glitching after she escaped the Fright Zone in season 2, I think? Yeah. I think it was season 2. And she didn't want to tell her mom. She wanted to keep it a secret. But the thing is, I think moms, parents in general, have a responsibility to their children to be approachable and safe authority figures, as opposed to scary or difficult to talk to. So I think that Angelica just makes it difficult for Glimmer to talk to her. Or as she would say, Glimmer. Why is she so British? Why does she have this accent? Glimmer doesn't have this. No one else has this accent. Is she just, like, built different? Like, why does Glimmer not have the accent? Did she not get it from her mom? Or, like, is it, like, not even a family thing? Like, is this just how... Is she just talking like this for fun? Glimmer, you should start speaking like... All queens are required to speak like this, Glimmer. Because I'm your queen. Sorry. I'm sorry. Can you tell I'm losing it? Man. So, because of this lack of a safe space that she builds for Glimmer, and the fact that Glimmer doesn't seem to trust her mom that much emotionally, I think that it does say something about her parenting, despite the fact that she wants the best for her child. I think she's not the worst, though. I'd say that she's behind Nala and above Usara, or Zuko's mom. I forgot her name. Was it Ursa? Was her name Ursa? I think her name was Ursa. Anyway, I would put Angelica above Ursa and below Nala in this middle section. But I do think that she's generally more of a positive figure in Glimmer's life, and definitely is going to do the right thing when it comes down to it. I just feel that the fact that Glimmer couldn't approach her does say something about their relationship, and how Angelica's parenting has worked out in the past. Now we have Luce's mom, Camilla. Now, I'm not saying that Camilla is a bad mother by any means. It's kind of like Angelica earlier, but I think that she is a little bit less realistic for the most part. And when I say less realistic, I don't mean like with the emotions, because she definitely, her breaking down and crying and making Luce promise to come back to Earth and stay, that is all human and very understandable and all that. My question is, how does she... You know what, actually? Camilla is overall a very good mother. She's not like the best one on this list, but she definitely does have the ability to be a great mother, because she does have a deep care for Luce, and she's distraught when she finds out Luce left home on purpose because she loves her daughter, and she worries that she wasn't as good of a parent as she could have been. And Camilla, of course, learns that this wasn't really her fault, of course. It was more of Luce just trying to find a place she belonged as a teenager. But it still affects her because she deeply wants Luce to feel at home with her, and she cares deeply about her daughter's feelings. It still, to me, is a very cruel thing to do, though. To just... what am I saying? Not very... What am I saying? Of course, I do have to make the point that I think that Camilla had a very big switch from the first episode to when we see her later in the show. Because I feel like she has a more realistic character when we see her later in the show. I know we only see, like, a bit, like, a couple minutes of her in, like, the first episode. So I understand that it's not actually supposed to be, like, her whole character. And she was not supposed to be hyper-realistic because you can't make someone that developed in only a couple minutes. But still, I feel like she did definitely change because her attitude towards Luce and her interests definitely did. I feel like there was some shift. Maybe I'm just having, like, a placebo effect because she changed her shirt. I don't know why. I just really feel like she did change. But whatever I'm thinking of, it doesn't matter because she did change for the better. So while I don't think that she goes as, I don't know, understandable or interesting as all the other moms, even if she's not as comprehensive, I guess, she still is a good and caring mom, and she deserves to be put a bit higher on the list. Also, it is very brave of her to go to the Boiling Isles with Luce to fight Belos. She also has a great grasp on what's important to Luce and how to help her, because despite being distraught at first about the whole running away thing, eventually she learns how important that the people in the Boiling Isles are to her and learns about her friends, and she's very supportive. And she just goes out of her way to make Luce's life better, especially when she finds out that Luce was planning on never going back to the demon realm because she was worried about, like, you know, this is all my fault. Luce, it's not your fault. It's a middle-aged man from the 1700s fault, okay? Okay. So, because she insists on helping Luce, I think that really puts her higher on the list, just because I think if she had just decided to stay back home, it would have just looked like she didn't care enough to go with her or supervise. And I understand it's war, and I guess you could say a lot of people wouldn't want to be involved in a war that doesn't involve their own planet. But when it's your child, I think it's a bit different. So, for her, I'm going to put her above Nala but below Chili, because I think Chili has just kind of a more motherly aura. I'll admit, that's more of a superficial thing that I'm doing here, because the only reason she's not above Chili is because I just don't feel like she does enough to justify being above Chili, because Chili's advice to Bingo is very sweet, and I don't know if we get a lot of... I think I'm going to put her below Chili, but that's because I just want... I'm going to put her below Chili, but not because Chili's, quote, a better mom. I just feel like Chili is a better character overall. So, here, I'm going to put Camilla above Nala, but below Chili. And now, who do we have left? Our last character we're going to discuss? The devil herself. Horrid Henry's mom. Okay, look, I know that sounds aggressive considering that this is, like, a children's British TV show, but, like, she really sucks. And a few years ago, I think, a couple years ago? Was it years? Or, I don't know, a year or two ago, I remember that there was at least a corner of the internet that started realizing how bad of a mom she was. But she really is a horrible mom. Like, I don't know how to explain it, man. Like, you don't get put on the bottom of my list for nothing. That's right, she's going on the bottom. She's a horrible mom.
some of the things that she says to her children are actually, like, mortifying. First off, the favoritism is palpable. Like, disgusting level of favoritism she shows between her two sons. You don't have this level of favoritism unless you're insane, okay? Because just imagine giving your children nicknames and you call one of your sons Perfect Peter and you call your other son Horrid Henry. You don't do that. That is the most, like, it's almost comedically abusive. Like, you cannot just be calling someone Horrid Henry and Perfect Peter, just, like, in general. But they're your children. If this show was for a slightly older audience, I'm, like, so convinced that Horrid Henry's mom would be, like, arrested by CPS in the final season or something. Because you don't just say these kinds of things to your kid. Like, come on. Henry is, like, what? 10? 9? 8? Something around there? And he is procrastinating a bit to do his homework. And he's, like, pretending to play the drums because he's just a little boy who just wants to do things, you know, that aren't math because math sucks. And his mom comes in and is like, "Stop doing that, Henry. Stop that right instant, Henry." And when he says that he wants to be a rock star, and she says to Henry that rock stars don't do homework, Horrid Henry kind of makes, like, a nice kind of remark, being all like, "Oh, so I don't have to do my homework then." Because, you know, child logic. And you want to know what his mom does? He turns to Henry. She says, "Henry, you will never be a rock star." Wait. She says, you ready for this? She says, "You are not a rock star, Henry, and you never will be." What? You can't just destroy your child's dreams like that. Screw you. On top of that, this kid can't do a single thing without her being all like, "Don't be horrid, Henry." Like, he fucking breathes and she'll say it. Like, he literally, like, walks in and says good morning, and then his mom is all like, "Don't be horrid, Henry." He didn't do anything. He said good morning. What is wrong with you? And that's, like, the tip of the iceberg. I've seen, like, so many horrible things she'll just casually say to her son. Like, you don't do this to your child, okay? This is cruel. Also, you could debate whether or not she gives Horrid Henry dinner in the show, because when he misbehaves, sometimes she'll tell him to go to bed without his tea, and you might be thinking, tea is just a drink. Well, I've seen from a few sources that apparently tea could also just mean dinner. So she could just be sending him to bed without dinner, and I don't think you should do that. Don't starve your children. I mean, even if you don't think it's starving, oh, it's just one meal. I don't care. It's just a weird thing to do to your child. Forcing your child to miss a meal because they misbehave creates a very unhealthy relationship with behavior. You shouldn't have to make it feel like food is, like, a reward or only a luxury given when you're well behaved. Food is, like, a mandatory thing for children to have. Okay? You can't just have that be optional for your 10-year-old. On top of that, she seems weirdly excited at the idea of Henry not being around her at all. Like, even if your child is slightly frustrating or annoying or, I don't know, one of those kids who kick someone's seat on an airplane, you should still, like, at least semi want to be around your kids. I understand, like, a break or something, right? Like, oh, I want some me time. But I'm talking this is concerning, okay? Because tell me why you, as an adult grown woman, are treating your child like this. And when there's a clown at his birthday party, well, a clown magician guy, and he makes Horrid Henry, quote unquote, disappear, you start being the loudest person to cheer in the room. Woman, calm down. That's your son. And then, when she leaves Horrid Henry at, like, what was it, summer camp? Day camp?
I forgot. It was a while since I watched the episode. She leaves her son at, like, day camp, and like, she's not gonna see him for 3 days, and she says, 3 days without Henry. And then her husband goes, Bliss. Bliss? Okay, I'm not gonna talk about his dad right now. His dad is arguably less bad, but he still sucks. I'll save that for Father's Day. If I do this on Father's Day. So, my point is that you, as a mother, fail in every category, Horrid Henry's mom. Okay? You just frustrate me to no end. You're not even like one of those moms who just don't provide emotional support. You sometimes don't even provide food for your child willingly, even though you have food. Just give him food. Don't send him to bed without food. What the fuck's wrong with you? I don't like you. Oh my god. So that's why she's on the bottom of the list, and no one can fight me on this. Okay? Okay. Oh man. That's my list. My Lion Guard and Lion King review redesign summary thing will be coming out hopefully this summer if, nothing gets in the way. I know I said I was going to make another ship ranking video, and I am, okay? It's just taking longer than I thought. Other than that, I guess I gotta go. Have a good Mother's Day, and stay cheesy.